So Zelensky is threatening the Russian Federation again while Russia is bombing Dnipro, and there's massive destruction there. But at the same time, Zelensky's buddy, of course, didn't forget him, raised $3.2 million to get out of the detention center and successfully got out today. Everything's fine, everything's good. For those who matter, everything's just great. Before we start looking at all this, and there are some new, extremely interesting topics as well, I'll show you what's happening in Zelensky's hometown, Kryvyi Rih. Here they're forcibly conscripting a guy, of course. There are several of those military recruitment officers, people catchers, and they caught him right outside his own house. Looks like the guy just stepped out for a smoke and boom, they got him right away. They move in packs now. It's just crazy. I don't even know what to say. 10 people for every one person being mobilized. It's just unbelievable. If only these people and their energy could be directed into the military, I mean to the front lines, not what they're doing now. That would be a real victory, not all of this. The reason I'm showing it in pieces is because YouTube rules prohibit violence and other things, including bad language, so that's why I'm only showing fragments here. The full video is available. On my Telegram channel, just point your tablet or phone camera at this QR code and you'll get there right away. And if you're watching me, and most of you are watching from mobile devices, then there's a link in the video description right here. Click on it and you'll also get to the Telegram channel. So what's going on with Yermak? As we all expected, he was released early in the morning on Monday. The money was collected under pressure from Zelensky back on Friday, but they didn't manage to transfer it to the court's account in time, so he was released as soon as they did. But Zelensky must have been beside himself, doing everything he could to get Yermak released. Friend, comrade, brother, and ally, as this very CB has said, this excellent top manager. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine said that they train together in the basement, watch movies together in the basement, and eat together before the start of the workday. Рабочего дня. Oh, alright, so this hero of our time comes out of the detention center and immediately gives something to the guard. Well, naturally, none of this is for free. And the guards, the government service, everyone there is escorting this powerful comrade. Do you have any left?
Do you have any left?
No, I know many more.
And of course, they don't know how much was collected. They don't know who collected it. By the way, some singers were collecting too. And some museum directors suddenly collected 8 million hryvnias, mind you. Where did she get that kind of money? Then the former Dynamo Kiev football player Rebrov chipped in some money. He's a coach now, I think. Well, apparently they pay well. Back in the day, Yermak helped him out. And now this mutual back-scratching is going on. Everyone is chipping in. Basically, everyone is giving a little bit to Yermak. It's not exactly a shirt off their back, but $3.2 million isn't just lying around either. So he goes and they ask him. Now, I think once he starts his law practice, once he starts lawyering, there'll be hell to pay for everyone. So that's how things are. Then, moving on, Zelensky announced that the war is coming home. He also mentioned the record-breaking strike on Moscow. The strikes there are really powerful. And he stated that the most massive attack by Ukrainians by Ukrainian long-range weapons was on the Moscow region. The wave of war is quite predictably coming home, and Zelensky also announced another active diplomatic week with contacts with European leaders. Well, that's probably Monsieur Macron, then that Portuguese guy Merz, and someone from England. Then preparations for negotiations with the Americans have also been announced. I don't know what they're going to negotiate about if they don't need it anymore. Well, he wants to negotiate with the Americans. Well, probably he'll be given that opportunity. The next thing Moldova suddenly started doing was, in the Telegram channel I showed you, they suddenly started preparing for a massive influx of Ukrainian refugees. That's not my fault. I just saw it here and copied it. Okay then. On the national level, they're getting ready, saying that 1.5 million people might enter. That's if the main flows go through Palanka Mayaki Udobnoe, Tudora Starokazache, and Otachi Mogilev Podolsky. In case of actions in the south of the Odessa region or destruction in the Mayaki area, so probably the Moldovans know something about what will be happening there in the foreseeable future. Well, but at the same time, it's quite realistic because after Ukraine struck Russia, Russia struck back at Ukraine. And this endless wheel, I was about to say the wheel of samsara, but no, the wheel of violence. For us, it keeps spinning and spinning, and the victims that appear as it spins are unfortunately growing in scale. What do we have here? Here, 18 people died, a missile strike on Dnipro. Destruction here, of course, as always. It's utter devastation. Here there are private houses, religious institutions, a university, and some kind of enterprise. In short, the destruction is really very severe, and it's extremely difficult to contain, mitigate, or eliminate it just like that. But nevertheless, the firefighters are doing everything they can. These are also the heroes of today, real ones. These are the workers of various emergency services, firefighters, paramedics, doctors, and utility workers. They are doing everything to restore the country after the raids. But those at the top, well, they just build themselves houses. Why need a country if they can build their own dynasty? A neighborhood like that, surrounded, I think, with a 3 or 5 meter high fence, concrete, and just ignore everyone else. Let the place go to ruin, after us the deluge. I think some French king said that. If you remember who said that, remind me. Well, it's about the same now. Then Zelensky shouts again that now it's coming from Belarus. A crime strikes on decision-making centers. This is from May 15th, another piece of news. But the thing is, today Belarus announced nuclear exercises. I don't think that's it for you. Not like the whole world turning to dust. Not now, but later. But this later seems to be getting closer and closer, and it feels unsettling. If you're tired of politics, dear viewers, you can check out my other channel called Americans on the Moon. It's a science channel, and there's all sorts of things there. There you'll see the fight against obscurantism, like the Anunnaki using molecular destructors to battle plasma and plasmoids, and quickly building pyramids with various contactees. Before you get to the information about the Moon, about 3A and Atlas, the headlines here are, of course, a bit sensational, but don't let them fool you. The content, let's say, is completely scientific, trust me. So welcome, there will be a link here. Come and subscribe, everything will be fine. Zelensky said that Russia is trying to convince Lukashenko to join new aggressive operations. The Kremlin is considering 2 scenarios: a strike from the territory of Belarus, either against the Chernihiv-Kyiv axis in Ukraine, or against one of the NATO countries. But honestly, I don't really believe that Belarus would go to war with anyone in Europe. After all, Lukashenko has established relations with Trump, and though not perfectly, with the Europeans as well. And suddenly, yes, let's hit, say, Poland, says Lukashenko. Well, of course, that could happen. Nothing would surprise me anymore. Even if some powerful leader from any country comes out on stage, stands on their head, and starts doing some kind of acrobatic tricks. But still, I want to believe in the sanity of at least those who remain from the old days. There are no perfect leaders anywhere now. Well, if you have to choose between 2 evils, at least there is still some kind of choice. But then you look at who comes to power and think, who are these people anyway? I'm not talking about Zelensky now, but about the new people there. You see new elections in various countries and wonder who is choosing these leaders and how. Do you know what will happen next? But apparently people don't understand and end up with what they end up with. As for the authorities in Ukraine, it says here that the Kremlin is hunting for Budanov during peace negotiations. He, Budanov himself, stated that the Kremlin does not stop trying to eliminate him, even at the moment when he is personally leading peace negotiations with Moscow. As head of the main intelligence directorate, he survived at least 10 assassination attempts. He headed the main intelligence directorate from August 2020 until January of this year, when Zelensky transferred him to the presidential office. And now Budanov is Ukraine's chief negotiator with Russia. Negotiations, in fact, are not taking place, but we do have negotiators without negotiations. It's like, for example, if you didn't know until now, there's a mayor of Mariupol who receives a salary along with the administration. I mean from the Ukrainian side. And they're embezzling there. Well, I mean, they're managing the budget, planning some flower beds, bridges, virtually, of course, and they continue, I repeat, to receive a salary. It's the same in some cities in Donetsk that have already been captured. It's absolutely the same there. There are some Ukrainian mayors. They also receive a salary. It's the same in Artemovsk, absolutely the same. Well, there's just a lot of money. And why not share it with those close to them, right? So, Budanov is now saying that he came in with a holster and a pistol on his belt. And Budanov says that an attempt on his life is absolutely normal. Budanov says, I don't need to trust anyone, I need to achieve results. Any ways, forms, and methods of work are good if they bring that result. I don't get involved in things I don't believe in. I believe in the negotiation process, its completion, and the result. On top of that, he says that he worked a lot with Russia, with negotiators from their side. That's why he knows how to talk to negotiators from Russia. But let's hope that's really the case. Overall, if there really were results from the negotiations, that would be simply wonderful. That would be the best news in a very, very long time, probably since the end of COVID. Then Budanov, what? He also says that it's unlikely they will strike the capital with a nuclear weapon, but he calls the nuclear arsenal a serious threat. By the way, in my opinion, he's actually the most reasonable leader among all the current ones. Yes, he says there that we should rally around Zelensky, but right now he's the head of Zelensky's office. That's why it's unlikely he can say, let's rally around me, meaning himself right now. But what he does say is that negotiations are needed. That Ukraine can't withstand 5 or 10 more years of war. That negotiations are needed, and I think he even said that elections are needed. And now he's also saying that nuclear weapons from Russia are dangerous. I think any reasonable person understands that any nuclear weapon is dangerous. But right now, there are some powerful leaders among Ukrainian political analysts, some cosmetologists and other ologists who say that there's no need to be afraid of nuclear weapons. So what? It's a nuke. They'll just use nukes. The quintessence of this stupidity is this blockhead. There's one guy like that, some kind of military man too. The barbershop manager, the barbershop guy, claimed that if there's a nuclear war in Ukraine, it would actually be good for Ukrainians. Because, well, you could evolve in radioactive caves just like the Neanderthals did. At the same time, when you look at Tolstoy himself, you realize that it wasn't evolution, it was something else. Some people share that view and he's not alone. Another person said not to fear nukes because Russia no longer has them. They either don't work or work differently. Anyway, the thoughts there are just enormous. A huge number. What happens next? They claim that Budanov tops the list of people most wanted by the Kremlin. We're told that most assassination attempts were foiled at early stages. Well, alright. In short, there's a new conflict here. There's Fedorov, the defense minister, and he's in conflict with the generals. Why is he in conflict with the generals? Because he has his own views on military affairs. Well, an IT guy has his own views on military affairs. Alright. He says that the world needs security, and only autonomous weapon systems can provide it. This is autonomous weaponry, he says. This is the new nuclear weapon. The countries he owns will be protected. Well, in short, in order for countries to have reliable protection, let's stuff them with as many weapons as they can possibly hold, and then we'll just watch what happens. If a country ends up at war, we'll say someone will protect it. This is actually a defensive process, not a war. Whereas back in the 90s there was disarmament, of course, there were a lot of abuses, misadventures, and various injustices among different countries. But nevertheless, people tried to disarm. There were agreements on different things, on nuclear weapons, on conventional weapons, on everything possible. But now all you hear is, let's buy more weapons. Germany is rearming at a tremendous pace. Those factories that used to produce nice Mercedes and BMWs are now being converted to make tanks. Because they say, first of all, it's profitable, and second, people, the public, no longer have money for those cars. I'm not talking about the ruling class here. They still have enough to buy a couple of candle factories with their spare change because they have money. But that's how things are with finances in different countries, and Fedorov says so. Let's produce more weapons, we all need them. Now we're going to give everyone their fair share, and it won't be pretty. And what else? There are a lot of powerful leaders here today. I'll put on my power glasses right away. That's for protection from ionizing radiation. And who should we launch? Let Tuka dance with Tanya since it's the Tuka dance.
Victories, 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 victories. It didn't work out.
Yes, naturally, with such leaders, including Tuka, there can't be any plan for victory, so we'll just watch and enjoy their thoughts. But we have Uncle from Polenine. He'll tell us everything. He says we need to forget about the concept of elections. That sweater is from the 90s. The guy's a genius, an amazed journalist who looks at all of this. The guy says elections aren't needed. Tell me.
In this case, I'll stress again, we should disregard the idea of elections. For instance, I'm truly convinced.
Who cares about your opinion, Uncle? So when some speaker comes out with bright eyes, ours or someone else, The last thing you should do is use yourself as an example, because you're not an actor, you're not some kind of star, we don't know who you are, and we're not gonna follow you, man, with that sweater of yours. Don't use yourself as an example. It's like when you were a kid and didn't tuck your shirt in right, and they pointed out Kolya, your neighbor, did it properly, so you just stood there annoyed. At least you know Kolya, and he doesn't tuck it in. But here it's just some random guy saying, I respect it. So why should your opinion matter, man? Well, maybe someone does. Maybe your wife cares, but even then I doubt it. Anyway, whatever.
So that we win this war.
Because, yeah, so why don't you give it? No, then what did you win? We did the plowing, me and the tractor. Then what else do we have? This is about nuclear stuff, he says. He says, this is a brave woman. By the way, she used to talk more or less about finances and everything, but now she's become like that too. The virus of power just infects people. And the inter-ear angels, and the central nervous system, and everything that can be affected, it affects. And you look, there used to be some reasonable people, but now they're gone. By the way, Anna Skorokhod disappeared, the favorite deputy of my friend Taras Jurist. Hi Taras, if you're watching. And it's unclear what's happening with her, why, where she went. She hasn't been making any public statements. She was the most reasonable of all, in my opinion, too.
The whole country is full and with full mobilization, which will create certain problems there, or they can strike.
A preemptive nuclear strike on the territory
Of Ukraine.
No, she can't. She obviously knows that they won't launch a nuclear strike. The woman sitting in the studio confidently says they won't do it. Well, of course not.
I believe they'll lose not just China, but also India and the whole world. This will trigger independent processes in Russia, which is already collapsing and could fall apart in just 5 days.
Already everyone, including Gordon, has said that Russia has fallen apart many times since the beginning of 2022. But so far, all these years...
I don't know, maybe 7 months, maybe 6. Well, accordingly, their society is falling apart, right? They won't withstand a full mobilization.
It will fall apart in 2 weeks, what? And the dollar is just a piece of paper, or the ruble is just a piece of paper. Everyone will fall apart, absolutely everyone. Then we have another so-called brother who tells us, look, another barbershop guy. They released a neatly shaved one, some handsome guy. Maybe before he used to advertise underwear, but now he's our combat commander. He's sitting in some blurry room, maybe in his kitchen after fighting with dumplings. And he's saying that monsters come out of the forcibly rounded up, and soldiers. Well, apparently he has experience.
It's important to realize it will still go on.
Yeah, and what? Okay, got it. So what?
Russia exists. It's time to understand that for ourselves and face the truth.
That you need to get out of there, out of that region, just like many people are already leaving. Open the borders, and half of those who are left will leave too.
This is definitely necessary to accept natural...
Where is he looking? Why is he staring at the corner? Why do speakers look at the ceiling, then the corner, then their nose, or elsewhere? Just look at the camera.
It's not as terrible as it might seem at first glance. The army is not the end of life, and not...
Of course, and notice he's not looking at the camera. He's avoiding eye contact with viewers, which says a lot. There's some slicked-up barbershop guy sitting there with trimmed eyebrows and a styled haircut. Well, he doesn't look like a military man at all, let's say. Maybe he's involved in strategic research on the economics of mess halls for soldiers in barracks. But he never goes past maybe the 10th line from the front. Most likely he's just another drone operator, someone's cousin, brother, or in-law. And he's saying that war isn't scary. How would you know? You just haven't been there. Well, for crying out loud, he's showing all these barbershop guys, I can't take it, I'll just put on a kippah. War isn't scary, come join up, you'll be able to prove yourself, you'll be able to get any profession you want. If you're an IT specialist, you'll get an IT job. If you're an ornithologist, you can work with birds. If you are, I don't know, if you're a miller. You can be a miller at the front. Everyone is needed there, but that's only at the front line where there are soldiers and officers. But for a barber, everything is always fine. Well, and he says, in the matter of his career and his life, no matter how much they talk there, it's actually an extra page.
dropping out of your career and your life for a few years. On the contrary, it's an extra page that can bring much more.
Then a page in the obituary, in the newspapers, obituaries. Well, of course, yes, that's how it is. If you look at the cemetery in Ukraine, which is many hectares, then of course, that's quite a page.
For us,
Look at how the proud journalist raised her eyebrow, lips all pouty. She looks sternly into the future and probably sees herself in uniform, sees herself as a reliable soldier, a non-commissioned officer. Oh, not that, a soldier fighting the enemy. It's not clear what she's fighting with, but somehow she's fighting.
She assumes it's not something terrible, but just our reality, in which you can also live and grow, instead of putting everything on pause and giving up your ambitions and everything else.
Ambitions during war. You've been dragged into a van, beaten up, roughed up, your internal organs have been damaged, and you still have ambitions. I wonder how old he is. 25, 26, so ambitious.
Actually, most people who ended up at the Territorial Recruitment Center aren't against serving. They turn out to be great soldiers who later prove themselves very well.
But where could he have gotten that knowledge from? But anyway, the mess continues. Zelensky's forces are still strong, and the Russian side is just as powerful. The Americans are fighting with Iran, Iran is fighting with the Americans, and China is already eyeing Taiwan. Yes, we're all on a page, on some page of the history textbook. And if in the future children flip through the remaining history textbooks, which I hope will be printed in their time and not scratched on birch bark, then they will be able to read about our fates, dear viewers. We wait and hope for peace. Goodbye, everyone.
You know, it's interesting that right now 90% of Ukraine is against elections.